Hi, Adam. It's Alex. Hey, I wanted to get back to you. Sorry it took me a little bit, with everything going on, just taking care of the kids, making sure they're got everything that they need, and then getting back to work to the grind. So I wanted to kind of go over. You had questions on how to do pagination, right? On how do you send them dynamic gallery cards, and then depending on if this is the last record, to either say, okay, this is the end of the list, or continue to see more. And the most cards you can send at any one point in time is 10 cards. So you want to limit the records to 9, with the 10th card being the notification card, which is to either see more or end the list. So when we start off, we have an API call that comes over into Manychat, and you want to kind of send it through a flow. To do pagination, you need three flows. You're going to need one here, and one here. This is a little complex. I know. I apologize. This is just one of my flows for a bot that I'm launching next week. But so you're going to need three. You're just going to need these three flows here. One, two, three here. And the first one, what the first one does is it says get the total count. You want to get the total count of how many records meet the criteria that you're looking for that particular gallery. So in my situation, let's say a person's looking for homes for sale that are between 300,000 and 500,000. The first thing you have to know is how many are there, so then you can divide that by 9, so you can see how many pages you're going to have, right? So what it does is it comes through here. The first flow, you have to say, okay, get count. And we set a parameter, a current flow parameter. Let me just kind of open up Manychat so you kind of see that in the back end here. 1 second. Okay, let me go ahead here. Yep, I'll use this particular bot here. This is the one I'm going to launch here. So let's say visitor start, visitor browse, okay, price list. Okay, so here's the dynamic call here, right? So we're going to make the dynamic call to that API. Let me open this up here. And in the body, when you make the request, you add a current flow. This is just for routing purposes on the back end. This is just going to be used with a filter in here that says, okay, what's the current flow? The current flow is this, then it goes through that particular route. So the first route that it goes to, is this route here, which is get the count. See, this is the price count. So what it's going to do, it's going to search the table for all the records that meet the criteria. Don't put a limit on this to 9. I made that mistake when I first started doing this. Is limit to 9, and it'll always just return 9, because I thought, okay, well, you want to you can only show 10 records, so all I need is 9 to begin with. But what you really want to do is you want to start off with the full count, so you know how many times you have to go through it. Okay, so here you do this initial search, and then we return that. Here, the total number of bundles. Now this is just a field that's being returned. For this particular call, for the initial search, you don't do a dynamic call. You do an HTTP request. So let me go here to show you where that is. Visitor start. Let's see. Visitor search price. Okay, it's here. Here's a call here. So it's an external request. And the external request looks like this. Okay, it goes through it, and it's going to go get the count here. It's going to look for which place. It's looking for Maria. This is the price range. And then what you have to do with that particular response here, the total number of tours, is you need to map it back to the field. So the nomenclature, or the naming convention is $, period, and then the name, whatever you give it. So for my particular situation, I gave it TOT tours. So it's $, period, TOT tours. Okay, and then you map that to whatever custom field that's going to hold that particular record. You need that for later, because then we're going to use it. Okay, so that's the first part of it. The first part is done. You got the total number of count. Now you have to run the list. And so when you run your initial list, it goes through here. Okay, and it goes for the initial list, again, here's the first, says tour list. And here again, you use a current flow to route it here. This is a current flow now, is get the tour list. So once you go ahead and select here you want to select just 9 records. You don't want to select all the records. You only want to select the first 9, or the first 9, yes, because that's the initial run, okay? So the initial run limits it to 9 records here, okay? So once you do that, you use an array aggregator, and you tell it which fields do you want to use or you want to collect. Okay, so you click on those fields, and then you add an iterator, which is going to go through every record that comes through this array aggregator so that we can use it. And I'm going to show you how it's going to build that card. Okay, so this is very simple. You just use the iterator and you reference this particular array here, and that's going to go say, okay, I'm going to go through this record by record. Now, this is the fun part. We get a module. It's a text aggregator. Okay, you go here, text aggregator, this one right here, and you add the card build out. You add the card build out here. So it has the title. Here's what the title is. The subtitle. Galleries need an image, so here's the image URL. And I'm grabbing all this from the table. The iterator is grabbing it from the table, so it's just going to pop it in every time. Okay, the photo. And here's the action buttons, right? So remember I was talking about, like, what do? I'm setting up the buttons underneath here. Say, okay, I want them to click to a URL. So this is the property tour if they're going to see it. I want them to contact the agent. So here's what I was talking about. You contact this agent, it's going to bring them to a flow that's going to bring up the agent's information dynamically again. But we need to grab their ID. So what it does is once they click this here, there's an action associated with this button here. And that says when they click it, set this value. Set this field value. This field name has to exist already in your Manychat account. Okay, in here, in the settings. It's already got to exist here in order for you to be able to pass it back this way. Okay, and then you set it here. And because it's going to iterate through every record, this is one card. So how do we control how many goes through? The iterator controls that. If there's 5, this will run 5 times. Okay? It'll go through the whole thing, fill it out 5 times, and that's why I put a comma at the end here, because it's going to fill it out, fill it out, fill it out, fill it out. Okay? Now once it ends, then this is where the next part comes in. Once it ends, here, see how it routes to two different ways here? Okay? This is because if there's less than 9 records, we want to tell them, hey, this is the end of the list. If it's more, we want to give them the last card that says, hey, you want to see more. So if it's, let me look at the filter here. So I filter this. Okay, so here's the filter. This one's greater than 9. So when we initially ran our search here, and you return more than 9 records. So as it goes through, it's going to go this route. I put a filter in to route it this way if it has more than 9 records. If it has less than or equal to 9, it's going to go to this route so that it can show them a different card. And here's where we put that last card. It doesn't matter if this ends in a comma every time, because this is going to be the last card that gets built. And the last card that gets built is this one. See, it says see more tours. And it's got the image. I have an image uploaded on my website, so I can just pull that image in. And it's got buttons to close. See more tours, then it sends them to another flow in here that says, okay, let's go ahead and look at more properties here. So we have price, more. So this is the second one. So it's price list 1, and then once they click that button that comes back with it, it takes to this next flow. Okay. One thing to note when it's doing that here, okay, so this builds the gallery here. This builds all the cards that match the criteria. This builds the 10th card, or the last card if there's less than 10 records. If there's 5, this will build card number 6, okay? This will be the last card. And then the last thing to do, if there's more than 9 records, you need to be able to say, okay, great, what's the next record, right? If I showed you 9, the next record should be record number 10. So what this is going to do, it's going to set the values of how many you've seen already and what's the next record that you have to start off with. So this is going to take the visitors not found, and then it's going to subtract how many it returned, which is going to be 9. You can put 9 here, hard-coded 9. I usually just set it this way because if it's less than 9, I want to be able to pass that value back. So we subtract the total number of tours minus the amount that we've already shown. In this case, it's going to be 9. So then it's going to tell me how many we have left again. So it's going to basically start counting down how many we've shown so we know what to start off next. So when it goes here, right, it's going to go ahead and I do a calculation here where I say, okay, I need 9 rows. So I'm going to give them what's the last row that you've seen is this row. And then from that point on, let's go ahead and I'll show you that computation next. Let's start off with the beginning row and let's go to the last row. So let's go to the, let's say there was 15 records. We shown the first 9. We need to see the next 6. It goes to this next route here. Okay. And this next route, this is not going to, it's going to return all the records because we want to know how many past 9 are there. We don't know. We know the total count, but we want to make sure that we get everything because this is going to loop. Otherwise, you'd have to create 9, 18, 27. You'd have to duplicate this. So this is going to control it. In one flow, it's going to go, or one operations, it's going to control all the subsequent ones that say see more, see more, see more. Okay? We do want to limit to the 9 records and the next 9 records. So we need to pass values. So we're going to have to pass value the last row that was seen and then the maximum row. And that's what the calculation, you saw the maximum row, which is going to be, okay, let's start at this row and end at this row. So when it filters through, this is going to run through and it's going to maybe return 50 properties, right? Or 15. But we already saw 9. So it's going to say, okay, well, I already saw the first 9. So start off at row 10. Well, actually, in Google Sheets, it starts off at row 1. So it's start off at any row greater than 10 and less than the max number. And that's going to give you the rest of the rows. So it goes through the same process. It builds the cards. And then it asks, basically, okay, well, how many rows are left? So here, if the total remaining is greater than 9, we're going to have to do this again. So it's going to route it this way, where it starts to build now the last card, which is, again, see more tours. Okay, and 1 second here. And it starts setting the values here. Here's how many rows are remaining, so it's calculating that. And then it's going to calculate the last row that was shown. So we take the last row, how many have been seen, and we add 9 to that because it maxed out. And we're going to pass all that information back here in this build out. Action, set value, visitor last row seen is equal to what we calculated here. And how many left here. So that when we go through here again, it's going to go to, okay, what was the last row seen here? Start with 1 above that, and then, right, start 1 above that and go to the maximum row. Go back all the way through here, and then route it again. How many are remaining? Greater than 9, go through this route again. If it's less than 9, it's going to route this way. So we're building the gallery cards with these 2 cards here, these 2 pieces here build, or these 2 here build the actual gallery, and then this sets the value, and then this returns setting the value. The webhook, here's the gallery build out here, cards, and this is iterated to show here. It's going to dynamically create all the cards. This is going to show the last card, and then these are actions that's going to set it to prepare for the next run. Okay, I don't know if you know where to get how to set up gallery cards here, but let me go ahead and bring that site up. It's called GitHub. There it is. It's manychat.github.io/dynamic_block_docs. So let me go here. So it's basically manychat.github. Let me minimize it so you can kind of see that here. Okay. Let me leave that up a little bit so you can get a good look at it. I know that I talk fast sometimes and the video is probably running a little fast as well. Okay. So this is basically how I go by and setting up that pagination. It's a lot of little steps. I know it looks a little complex, especially with my whole screen being so convoluted here. But I wanted to say it's just really 3 processes for pagination. Get the total count, run the first run. If you have more remaining, tell it to run more, and then as it runs more, then go through this other channel here. Okay. I hope this helps. If you get stuck, go ahead and reach out to me. I am trying to get this bot build out, but I can, always try to, if I have time, I always need a break in between what I'm doing to help people out. So reach out to me and I'll go ahead and see if I can troubleshoot anything for you. Okay? Thanks. I hope this helps.